All right, welcome to Jack Dodson'S Racing Insider News this week. We got a full house in here tonight, Jack.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's gonna be cool.
Let's see. Let's thank our marketing partners. Let's thank GAC, Great American Company. Papa John's for always providing pizza every week. Jack he never gets tired of pizza. He loves pizza, right, Jack?
Keep going.
Slinger Speed Company. Tim Brown, if you need some t-shirts,
We
you're
do.
a local t-shirt guy, huh?
We do.
Yeah, we want some. Well, they're coming. We're coming. Bondurant's Brothers Distillery. I think Robert Bondurant. MPM Marketing with Tanya McAllister. Langley Speedway. I think Bill and Chuck and Terry for allowing us to do the show from here. Pepsi for providing Pepsi and Mountain Dew. Mine and Jack's drink of choice. Mosquito Joe. Mosquito Joe won the Enduro race this weekend.
With a hanging tailpipe.
Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't black flag him.
They hung on for 30 laps.
Get 50% off on your first month of service on the Hampton side between Hampton and Richmond. Just mention the show. Southampton Motor Speedway. I think Gator Graphics and what is it? Frontline Performance Fuels.
See, you done forgot it already. You looking at me like I'm supposed to.
Yeah, right. Do you see the small letters there?
Race fuel, parts, and
Lubrication. Yeah. Hottest fuel at Langley Speedway.
Is that what they said?
Yeah. May or may not pass tag.
Oh, well. Fill at your own risk.
That's right. RDS Performance. He had a good weekend this weekend. First, the third.
Nine Toes did it again.
He's had a good couple weekends.
Yeah. Although he had to earn it this week. Nine Car had to earn it.
Oh yeah.
Right. Atley was pretty close, and I thought he was nipping away a little bit there at the end. Let's see. Mean Dean Automotive with Greer and Associates, and where they at, Jack?
Moyoc.
He had a hard time with Moyoc for a long time. So Fast Eddie's Barbecue. It's about time for some more barbecue.
Yeah, I need to hit him up about this barbecue thing. He's really getting slack here.
S&N Communications. I think Airlock and Factory Canopies with Todd Davis, which we still ain't got no chairs, but I need to hit. Maybe we'll pick them up in Charlotte next week.
That's probably never mind. Go ahead.
Miles of Seamless Gutter. I think those guys for putting up the money for a sponsorship this year. Let's see. What's that? So what you got for the news there, Jack?
All right, we had some racing this past weekend. The Cup Series was at Kansas. Kyle Larson got the win. I wasn't sure if anybody else was in that race there for a while because he just kind of dominated it. How about Carson Hocevar getting the win in the Truck Series? I mean, that's a pretty big deal for him. So I like that. And the local star gets a win in the Arco Series. Bendo Butterbean Queen got the win. Yeah, he's been, he's.
You keep got to give him credit, right? I mean, he has made the best out of the scenarios. Everything he's gotten in. That's a good team. We know he was faced with some decisions, and he chose to go into that car instead of a.
But I watched him race the other night on when they were racing. I was watching him race, and I was thinking that ain't the same guy that started out at Langley Speedway back in the day.
I know he's cutting his own steaks now. We heard.
Oh yeah, his mama told us he's cutting his own steak. He's doing good.
So. Legos.
You didn't know about that?
No, I was going to say something else, but I'm not.
All right, down at Bowman Gray, the modifieds, Burt Myers got the win. In the Sportsman Series, Chase Robertson got win number 1, and Connor Branch got win number 2. Our buddy Kevin Canner went down there and run in the Stadium Stock Division down at Bowman Gray and finished 3rd. First time he'd ever been there.
Oh, really?
And got a 3rd place finish there. Sobo, late models, Peyton Sellers. I think he's won a couple races there before. And in the limited late models, Tristan Brunelli. That was a big win for him. Yeah. At Caraway this past weekend, in the Legends, Keelan Harvick got the win. Limited late models, Grant Davidson, and the 602 modifieds, Joel Belanger got the win. Down at Tri-County, late model race number 1, Carson Quapple got the win, and late model race number 2, Hudson Sharp got the win. Down at Kingsport, late model race, Zeke Shell, he won both of them and had a nice little argument at the end of the second one. Him and Brad Housewright didn't like each other
There
too
were
much.
some arguments out here this weekend.
Oh yeah.
Well, we'll get that in a minute there. At A Speedway, limited late model Dustin Rumley, or late model Dustin Rumley. Blake Stallings won the second one. Dalton Ledbetter got the limited, and the mods went to Gary Causey. And now we're going to turn it over to Adam and let him do the Adam Wellbrock Pit Road Roundup from here at Langley Speedway.
The roundup from a crazy pit road this weekend, man. Full moon was out.
A little bit.
It was
fun.
a good time though.
Yeah.
Everybody brought their A game. In the bandos, Landon Burbich, that kid's on fire. Tell you what.
You know, I was wondering if he was going to be able to get by.
He got by her pretty easily last week, and
Was it
shout out to Penelope.
7 straight wins for him, right? I mean, 6 straight wins for this year. I mean, he's at other tracks.
Or six ones here, including last year.
Okay.
Yeah. He got by her. She's left the door open just a little bit.
I know. I kept thinking I was watching from up here, and I'm like, you gotta hug the bottom. He's there.
He was there.
But you know, once he got by her, she stayed with him, so it wasn't like he was that much faster.
I think Penelope's win's coming.
Mm-hmm.
38. It's got 2 poles and good speed. The Enduros, Thomas Fontaine for Mad Dog Motorsports. Those guys were all down there celebrating with Thomas, Rob, and the whole gang. So it was good to see them. He's had a pretty good year.
Yeah, he has.
He won the Day of Destruction, a couple events there. He's won a couple of U-Car races. This is like win number 5 or 6 for him. Grand Stocks, Paul Lubno won that race.
Was that win?
133.
Was it 133? I remember when he was in the chariot race here.
Of course he did.
That's how old he is.
All the wins, how many years that is? If it's just win after win after win, was that like 5 or 6 years worth of races?
130 races. That's got it. Yeah. We only race 20 weekends a year.
And he wasn't too happy with somebody either. So.
Oh, he wasn't?
No, he was not.
Who is he? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I forgot him and Tim. I didn't see what happened between him and Tim, but I know they sent them both to the back.
It was pretty interesting. He took that dive. I didn't expect him to move him out of the way like he did, but he ended up moving both of them out of the way.
And
yeah, it was.
He kind of, I guess, knew it was coming because he didn't seem surprised when we asked him about it in victory lane. So, because
Lubno had been beating on him for several laps before that.
And Tim just had one shot at it, and paid him back. But he's out of the championship because he missed race 1, and so Paul's under the impression he's racing for wins, and that's why he did it. So,
yeah,
gonna be a fun year for them
for sure. Hey, it's good for us anyway.
Yeah,
I mean, it's very
we're the winners and all that, and maybe Mad Dog will be too. Who knows? Limiteds, Aiden Millette got the win, 2nd in a row. In the trucks, Paige Kane beat the champ.
I mean, yeah, that was a.
Well, the dump of Chris Bechtel in 3 and 4 was kind of ugly as hell for one. And you expect Chase. Like he's pretty aggressive, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
he's probably tired of getting beat by him, I imagine.
And I thought he was actually going to be better. I thought he was going to be closer to Chris than he was, and he got a shot at him and give him a shot.
All he needed was a shot.
But I think he could have done that a little bit differently and probably won, but a turn and then going to the rear. Yeah. Although on that restart, I thought them two were done, but Chris come up to 2nd in the first lap because the 11 missed a shift.
I saw the replay, the onboard. He posted it on social media. I didn't see it here, but wow.
And I was like, oh man, he might still win the damn thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he was just kind of taking it easy that last lap.
Yeah, I don't know. He could have got to her.
I think he could have.
If he really wanted to, he probably could have.
But we talked to him before the race, and he was, big picture racing. He's like, I don't have to win the race, won several races.
Well, there you go.
But still in the end, Paige won. And congratulations to her. It's
a big win.
pretty cool for her. We told her all she had to do is knock Chris and out of the way on the start.
Somebody did it for her. But she held him off, man. I can't imagine what she was thinking with 2 to go. 57's in your mirror.
Yeah,
What?
imagine that he'd have come all the way back and stick it in your mirror coming through there. I know she had to.
I mean, but that's a fast truck. I mean, that truck's fast.
Yeah.
The 38, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They have won some races. Heck, she might not be done winning this year. I mean, she's been close,
Mm-hmm.
even without.
I mean, even though with that spotter, she's got boyfriend's spotter.
Oh yeah.
We don't like him.
Huh?
We don't like him.
Oh, he's all right, but he's not too bright.
Oh.
We like to give him a hard time.
Well, he was bright enough to guide her to victory lane.
I don't know if he had anything to do with that.
Well, either way.
We love messing with him.
How about Matt Waltz picking up 2 wins this weekend, man?
Man, that was like the Matt of old, right? I mean, I was going back to a few years where he kind of dominated here. He was
8
good.
years. It's been 8 years since he won a race.
Has it been that long?
He said it was since the championship year, yeah.
Dang, I didn't think it'd been that long, but
Because he only runs the heat and the Cars Tour and a couple races before that.
well, I think last year, year before last, they bought a new car. I think they run the heat, and they've been working on it. They haven't run a whole lot, but I guess he's running full time this year. It's finally getting
And they've been
kind
fast.
of handle on it. Yeah,
They've had pretty good runs when they've been here. So
yeah. I didn't think he was gonna be able to come back in that second one to win.
Who is Bechtel's spotter?
It's his brother. I think. Oh
No, Sparky. That's his Sparky. Yeah, that's right. That's Sparky. Yeah, yeah. He ain't much better. You're right.
And
I heard Robert Pellick had a new spotter this weekend.
he did. He didn't do really good.
When you have to go and resort to what Robert Pellick had to do to get a spotter for that race. I mean,
you go look for
he
the
was
best, right?
he was
He must
he
have
was he was resorting to whatever he could find. I understand there was 2 blind guys down there, and he was asking them could they do
He
it.
considered him.
Yeah. And then he come up here and asked Scott, and I mean, then he asked Scott to do it. And I guess the old adage is if you can't do, teach it, or talk about it. And Scott talked about it, and we know he can't do it.
Well,
Anyway, all right, driver of the week this week. Anybody got any ideas who the driver of the week is before I get
Only
started?
one person
I got a solid guess.
Yeah.
Well, Paige Kane pretty much.
Was there another vote?
Yeah, Paige Kane and Matt Waltz got some votes.
Okay.
Hey, Brendan Queen even got a vote.
Sure, why not?
So anyway, all right, let's get our first guest in here, and I guess we're going to go with Mr. POUST coming in here first. We'll let Rick come in here so they done voted him in. Come on in, have a seat.
Your seat?
Yeah, you get my seat.
Moving up in the morning.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Moving
Might be
laterally.
a downgrade,
I don't know. I was supposed to be a little better. It's not fun.
Well, for the tall guys.
Well, before we get started, Rick, we're glad to have you back. I mean, you've been gone, had a long deployment, and we are glad you're back. And I know you're not going to race any this year, but we're waiting for you to get back next year and can't wait for it.
Just want to get it back right. I don't feel like rushing it right.
Okay. Well, who are you going to get the next big motor from? I mean,
Oh, I was thinking about talking to some base stock guys because I didn't know I could get Chris. Might just go talk to Pro 6 guys, see if they got spare.
I don't know if that's an upgrade. we didn't have a whole lot of motors.
All right, I think so. No, I haven't even really discussed that yet.
well, I mean,
Truck's still sitting dusty in the garage.
So where's the trucks? I mean, what position is the truck in?
2 flat left side tires, so I got the stagger figured out. And it's the hood's off and the motor's showing. That's about what it's looking like right now. No, I haven't put any effort into it yet. I've been trying to do other things. Schedule's been pretty hectic over the last couple of years getting ready for this deployment. So just spending some time with the family, catching up with things around the house. So truck's not really my highest priority right now.
So you're back home, and that was your last deployment.
Yeah.
And I know you're happy about that. So
Can't say I don't care about how happy I
How long have you been in?
19 years.
You just doing your 20? Or?
I'm doing 22. So I'll retire in 28. So,
Okay.
Do the 3 year short tour. It'll help my retirement pay a couple percentage, a little bit, and give me time to get everything in mind at home. Honestly, gives me time to actually think about what I want to do when I grow up. So I have to enter the real world here soon. So I got to think about what I'm going to do next.
Yeah.
You gonna stay local?
That's up in the air right now. So it honestly depends on where the job's at. So we're talking about possibly moving out towards Martinsville, working out there, I got a job offer out there, and even potentially moving back home to Pennsylvania and working at State College Airport. So we'll see.
So what is your expertise? What do you do?
I am an AT. I work on the weapon systems inside the E2 Hawkeye. Basically, all the early warning systems inside that aircraft. That's my job. Fix them.
So he's going to go to work at the airport in Pennsylvania, working on stuff like that. Them airplanes is going to be something else coming out of there.
The goal is to find a good paying job and hopefully move up to the sprint cars after I retire. So I'm going to do their reason.
Oh.
Started the baby sprints at 305 and then went up.
Yeah.
The goal, but my wife has a plan that too. She's not necessarily for the open wheel stuff, but we'll see what happens. She knows that sprint cars are my passion. I grew up around Fort Worth Speedway, Sealands Grove, Silver Springs before that one was shut down. So
when you're out there on your deployment, are you able to keep up with what's going on here as far as the racing and stuff like that? I know you got work to do, but I mean, do you have a chance to do it every now and then to sit down and watch it?
every now and then. I mean, I think I go pop on a couple times out to see there whenever internet and everything is working good enough.
And he said,
Talk with you guys.
Charlie,
I do look forward to checking in on the action back here because this is one of my favorite places in the world. So I enjoy watching you guys go to battle. Plus the drama that comes along with it, like we saw this Saturday. That's always anything.
Yeah.
Just glad not to be a part of it.
So you had we won't go into specifics, but you had a very eventful deployment this time. So with everything, we won't go into specifics about it, but I mean, that had to be agonizing to be able to have to go through all that. So
it was unique for sure. So you face a lot of situations, and they're still facing those situations out there. I'm just fortunate enough to transfer and come home early. But yeah, there's definitely a bunch of unique situations that haven't been faced in a long time out there. Those guys can use your prayers if you guys believe in that stuff. So keep them in your thoughts and your prayers. They need all the strength they can get. So it's been a wild one.
So how much longer do they have out? I mean, how much longer is that ship going to be out there? Do you have any idea?
If I did, I couldn't tell you.
I told you that. Yeah. Okay. Don't tell me. I don't need that.
No, I don't honestly know when they're coming home. So.
So you really don't, when you go out, you really don't know what that's going to entail as far as.
Yeah, there's definitely an asterisk on it. So this one here, we were scheduled for 6 months, but we all knew the world has a plan when we come home. Obviously, it's a who's he's doing, who's he things over there. It's kind of determined our schedule. So we were looking to be back early April, but that didn't work out so well.
Wow. So how did you manage to get transferred in the middle of all this? I mean, usually I would think they don't do a whole lot of transferring during that time.
Not normally, but I'm on orders. So we go by orders. So I did my 4 years there, and it's time for me to move on to the next chapter, if you will. So some people get opt out. I actually got opt out for 3 months. So my time's up. So I'm transferred.
What was it like to get shot off that ship and get up the road and come home?
So the cat shots are it's like the most exhilarating roller coaster you ever ride.
I've heard about that.
It's not the first one I've ever done in my career, but I'm glad it's the last. They are fun, but there's a whole lot of question marks wrapped around taking the cat shot. These pilots that do it day in and day out, my hat's off to them. It's one of my favorite things.
And my uncle was telling me about it. He said that's That's an experience in itself when it gets shot off them.
Imagine, because you're 0 to what? And so many feet, right? I mean,
It's 100 and some mile an hour. I don't know the exact number, but it's fast enough to create a lift.
So do you sit facing the back or the front?
You face back.
That's what I thought. Everybody faced backward.
oh,
on
that would be weird. So you don't even know when it's coming, do you?
So, well, they'll let you know, and it's like a 20-second delay before you're actually shot. So you're sitting there just anticipating. All of a sudden, it goes like warp speed on you. So I guess that's probably the best way I could describe the feeling is if you've ever watched any of the Star Trek shows or anything where they go into like warp speed and everything around them, you know.
It's a blur.
Yeah, it just turns blurry. Like everything inside you literally goes back.
And you can't see outside.
Nope.
So you don't know what's going on outside of it at all.
What's going on around you?
Because I mean, the planes when they get shot off, I heard they get a good lift, but sometimes they go like that.
There's that moment of okay.
You don't see the ocean when you get when they go up.
You can feel the because it's violent and then it's smooth, right? So the cap shots are very violent because you're going up to speed, and once it hits the end there, you feel the punch of the end of the cat, and then it smooths from there. So you have that moment where you kind of you drop a little bit and then take off again. So,
Wow.
but you never lose power.
So they by the time, where did you fly to? You flew from there to Bahrain? You went to Bahrain after? They didn't even have time to give you a meal or nothing on the plane, did they? Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, but I know you were a happy camper when the time was to get off that boat and go.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Bahrain, but they have some of the nicest hotels that I've ever stayed in. So it's quite peaceful. Quite peaceful.
Rick, how the hell are we gonna go to Bahrain?
They got that kick-ass indie race out there. I don't know the name. Bahrain Circuit, I think it is.
I don't even know.
F1 races there. It's not. More of an Aztec versus if you've ever been there. I went there a couple years back when I stopped and it was losing time. And then
How much time do you get R&R on these deployments? Do you get? I mean, I saw a picture of you in some town you were in, some place.
the picture you shared was France.
So, I mean, do you get much time like that? Or?
We get a few days here and there. So, like I said, the world gets playing when you get the report call. So, cool it every once in a while. And let your hair down if you will. Take a break. But even so, when they're in port, they're still working. Right? Everybody has a duty day. So, on your day work, but otherwise, you get like 3-4 days off.
And it's got to be hard that your family can't come over, so you're basically just out doing yourself.
Usually trying to get away from the ship, stay on town. Because you are able to stay overnight downtown. So try to get away from the ship and relax for a few days. Then get back at it 7 days a week.
Wow, I know your family was very happy to see you get back into town.
My daughter won't leave me alone. She's a little chatterbox, and I love it. Don't get me wrong, but it's like every 30 seconds, daddy.
Well, that's part of the program. You got.
I love it. So, she doesn't quite grasp the fact that I'm not going anywhere anymore yet, so she's trying to cram everything in the first week of being home. So
Well,
keeps me entertained and keeps it fun. So I love it.
so now the racing plan is stay out of racing for this year, get your car ready or get your truck ready for next year, and be ready to go.
Yeah, I'm open to race, but it won't be my ride though. So if anybody's riding on from here, I'll drive the wheels off. That's for sure. Mike Canary put me in his enduro down in East Carolina, and that was a lot of fun. So I'm contemplating putting a day of destruction car together. So that's gonna be the last minute gig whenever I get back from Jacksonville.
So you got to go to Jacksonville for more training for your.
For the upcoming command stuff.
So where were you? See, he keeps up with it more.
Cool.
Oh yeah, okay. I appreciate you putting that out there like that. And I'll hear it all the way home. You said that. I gotta give it to you. You know, Clay, he keeps up with you and he admires you and you know, I guess there's worse people in the world. Thank God he didn't admire Scott or something like that. But I mean, that's really cool that you know, back home. I'm glad to see you home. So you need to come out and visit with us more often. Just, you know, just drop in and see us. I mean, you're free now. You don't have.
Yeah, I don't have a race car to work on, so I'm here.
So how long will you be in Jacksonville?
I'll be there June to September, so 3 months. But I'm gonna try to catch some racing while we're down there. My wife and I were talking about going to Atlanta and then the Daytona cutoff race. So and then on the way back we're gonna stop at Bristol.
Oh, cool.
Make a trip.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And have some fun with it. I've never been to New Smyrna. It's not far from.
No, New Smyrna's, yeah, it's not far from Daytona too.
Willing to make the trip. So
Jacksonville's not that far away either. So.
No, it's a pretty easy shot. Straight down 95.
My brother-in-law lives in Sanford, and that's right in the middle, huh?
Still,
That's up today. I mean, I don't know what happens tomorrow. Anything can happen tomorrow, but it's up today.
I got family down there, so we're expecting to come back too.
Well, I'm glad you're home. I really am. You know, I tried to keep up with you as much as I can and see how things were going with you. So I'm really glad you're here. And let's get you out here and go do some racing sometimes, and maybe next year when we'll have some fun with it. I know Clay's gonna want to come out here.
You can come down and spot for me. I don't normally run a spotter, but if you want to put the spotter headset on, you go there, right? Can't hear no words. I've learned not to hit the wall, but everything else is still a question mark.
Okay, well, you're probably better with Clay than you would be if you asked Scott. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, we're glad to have Rick back. I appreciate him coming out here and being. I know you got family things going on and getting caught up on everything. Man, I tell you what, I'm glad you're here. And like I said, I tried my best to get you recognized on TV3 when they do their thing on TV3. I sent all the stuff in. I sent a picture, a write-up, and everything to them, and I ain't heard nothing from them. So I guess you wasn't high enough on the totem pole for some of them guys.
people just don't like you, Joe.
That could be it too, I guess.
Oh, yeah, I'm just an average guy.
Hey, now, there ain't no way you can sit here in front of all of us and say you're an average guy. You're a whole lot better than average. So just you've done things that we don't have a clue of what goes on. And we admire you for your service, and we admire you for everything you've done and the sacrifices you've made. So we thank you for doing that, and we appreciate everything you do.
Well, I appreciate all that. Just keep everybody in mind when you guys are you're saying prayers tonight. They definitely need it out there. So they're going to be out there, and some people are going through some stuff right now that they can use some help. So
Do you keep in contact with any of them?
I have some friends out there. Yeah, I talk to them from time to time. So I've actually talked to one of them today. So they're doing all right.
Good.
They definitely need the strength. So.
Well, appreciate you being back. Thank you for coming, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, I'll have some better one-liners for you.
That's the reason why I got you now, so you wouldn't have that opportunity. All right, who's next? Come on.
Got to get one of
Hey.
those.
All right, good thing. You gonna hang around with us for a little while?
Let's see.
You want?
Okay.
Dodson'S Racing Insiders.
Hi, I'm Eddie Clark with Fast Eddie's Barbecue. You're watching Jack Dodson's Racing Insider with Scott Allen and Adam Wellbrook.
Shout out to Eddie, man.
Yeah, still no barbecue, but we'll shout out to him.
That's okay.
All right, we got with us now. We got Andrew Roten. Got a big win in the Pro 6. I mean, what, second time out this year? You got a win?
Yeah, that's it.
I bet that's pretty. I bet that was pretty good. Good thing to happen for you.
It was a thrill. Granted, I didn't race out here from probably 2005 till 2021. Ran a few legend races, 2021, 22, and 23, 4 or 5 a year, something like that. So it was the first race I'd won out here since 2004. So a lot has changed since then. My wife, my daughter, neither one of them had ever seen me race before. So it was a great feeling. So glad we could enjoy it.
When did you get started in racing back then? And
Well, I started racing when I was 12 in go-karts, all the way out here at the Roads Kart Club. I traveled racing karts, nationals, and stuff like that. When I went to college, I went to Virginia Tech, so I would travel back and forth home. Ran out here most of the time I was in college. Mostly ran at super streets. From there, my first job out of college took me to Atlanta, so I wanted to keep racing what I could. So that's kind of where the legends came in. You can find somebody to kind of help you easily. So I'd run a little bit while I lived out there in the Thursday Thunder Series. It's just like basically what we do at Charlotte. Got the last win I'd ever gotten out there then, that was in 06. And then from there, I probably hadn't run but 25 races from 2006 up until this last win. So.
Well, how'd you get hooked up with Tommy Spencer and then get in on his situation?
You know, it was I was wanting to move into a big car. I'd run Legends on and off for forever, and just felt like it was time to try something else. And was looking for somebody that could help me. Didn't really know who that was. Talked to some people I know and trust really well. I knew the name, but didn't know him. And I'd heard the name just mentioned enough. And I said, well, I'll look him up, you know. And I shot him a text one night, and I didn't expect to hear back. And I wouldn't even known him if I saw him. And he got back to me the next morning. And that was this past fall. We got hooked up, talked on the phone a little bit. I went and met him, and from there we went. And what a blessing he's been. He was, you know, exactly what I needed, and just been a lot of fun to race with.
So it had to be different for you to get in that Pro 6 and race.
Yeah, I'd never driven, you know, anything. Excuse me, I've had a cold, so my voice isn't normally like this.
I figured that was from being excited for a win.
Not that excited. But yeah, the Pro 6, never run anything with a late model platform before. So, you know, it was easy to adjust to, really. For the most part, Tommy gave me such a good car. I mean, it's built to win for sure. And he's just been doing it so long. You know, it really didn't take long to get up to speed, really, other than, you know, just getting out there and shaking it down. I hadn't been in a car in a couple of years, but so the adjustment wasn't bad at all. Car is really good, and just getting used to working with him and all the resources he provides and that type of stuff. Getting the hang of the tire a little bit, the fall off of the tire, you know, like at 45 when they get some laps on them, things like that. But yeah, pretty easy adjustment.
It's got to be easy coming from a Legends to that thing, right? I mean, Legends, you're up on the wheel, right?
Oh yeah,
Compared to
polar opposites, polar opposites for sure. You can, you know, both things you can't do in a Legend, you can do in that. You can drive it in about as deep as you want, and you don't really have to worry about drive off too much. You know, assuming the car's close, they don't really have enough power. You know, you got plenty of tire and suspension underneath you. So it's still all relative. You know, you got to be fast enough to beat the rest of the guys here. So, you know, so the harder you drive it, the harder it is to drive to an extent. You know, but it's you know, relatively speaking to a Legend, though, it's you can drive that thing just about as hard as you want to.
Well, tell us how exciting it was to get that win. I mean, and you know, only your second race with them, but
yeah, it was like just being able to, you know, hear my little 5-year-old daughter screaming "Daddy," you know, and you know, and she's only been out here probably three times ever, and just really emotional. It's been a long time since I'd won a race, and just grateful to get a win and to be blessed to race with Tommy in a car that I can win in. You know, just winning out here. I hadn't run out here for a long time, but this has always been the home track to me. a lot of people don't know this. When I raced karts back in the day, me and Bill Mullis used to run together, for a long time before he even owned the track. So I'd never really raced out here as long as he had owned the track. So we go back a long way, and he means a lot to me. So this is, it's a lot of reasons it meant a lot to me.
And you got the luck of the draw because some people had already left the Pro 6. Scott Allen, he got out of the Pro 6 division. I mean, because, you might have had some problems if he'd still been around.
Well, probably.
I'm not talking about with him racing.
That's, it's a shame that field isn't bigger. It's a really good class. I've run, several different things over the years. I would recommend that to, if you want to get your kid out of something and into a big car, maybe don't want to take the step into a Legend or a Limited quite yet. That's a great car to try to kind of make as a step.
I mean, it's the closest thing to a late model that you can get into, and it's not as expensive as some of the other stuff.
Sure.
So, I mean, I'm surprised that more people don't run that class.
Yeah, and I think it used to be a good field. They're, like I say, they're a lot of fun to drive. They're relatively affordable out here. So, and from what I gather, talking to Tommy and several people, there's a lot of cars around. They're just not racing. I think even last year they were running 8-10 cars a race, but there were
kind of been loosely the last few years.
Yeah, but this year it's been a little more slack. So I'm just trying to run out here as much as I can this year, and hopefully the field will grow a little bit because I think it's a great field. It's got a good the car's got a good place for it, and this is really the only track that runs them too. So some of those guys can get out here or find somebody that can get in the cars and fill the field up. I think it'd be pretty exciting.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, and you do know the pedals in the car and everything, right? So,
Yes, sir. Okay. If one pedal don't work, I just push it.
Well, no. There's somebody in this room, and I ain't talking about Rick. There's somebody in this room that finally got a front row start position in a Pro 6 race.
Uh-huh.
And I was thinking, hey, he might actually do something. And they dropped the green flag.
He did something, all right.
I did something.
That's why you call it.
It wasn't the right thing. I did something. The whole field passed him.
Oh my gosh.
But he did get back to what?
Not the whole field. I was still third.
The whole field. There won't be 6 of them in the field.
Got all the way back to 7.
Yeah.
That's one thing go-kart racing will teach you. You race go-karts growing up and running some big races, you won't get beat on a start, or nobody will jump you because you learn, the start is just the start and momentum is so important. So usually kart races are usually pretty much ready to go. But I got smoked a few times when I was a younger kid, doing that too, so I can relate. So
I'm just going to leave it right there. I ain't going to say nothing else about it.
I'm trying to show them something.
Look, we don't use positive reinforcement. We only get negativity. I mean, at least I'm famous for that. Jack parked his car one time. Would you park your car in the middle of the race so you can be first or something else?
Unless you're trying to bring out the caution.
All right, if you're going to explain this thing, explain it right.
I did.
No, you didn't.
He made Start and Park famous before the Cup Series made it famous.
I did it one time. You remember at Southampton, Joe, don't you, when they used to have the kids' nights out there?
Joe would never park.
Yeah.
So they go have the kids' night. I'd be racing, but winning wasn't that. Getting out there and doing
wasn't an option.
Anyway, I wanted to be the first car out for kids' night. So with about 2 laps left, I shot in the pit, circled through the pit, and came up the other side of the racetrack because you have to come up the other side of the racetrack. And I sat there until the race was over, come back out, and I was the first one in line. So my kids could come and get in the car, and other kids could get in the car, so we take them for a ride around the track. And that's what I did it for. All of a sudden,
come out too early, didn't they?
Huh?
The kids didn't come out too early, didn't they?
No, they weren't. I mean, but everybody, that was
He didn't get it.
I got it. I was ignoring it. But I mean, all the kids enjoyed it. They come out and took the ride, and I mean, that was more important to me at the time. So I did it, and then I should have never said nothing to nobody or told anything about it.
I think you told it to her early on because we had Joe Nemechek on one time, right? and he's telling Joe when Joe started at mini stocks. He's like, we got something in common. I started at mini stocks too. I said, Jack, I don't think he started parking at mini stock. And Joe thought I was knocking him because at the time when they were starting parking in the Cup Series. And he's like, look, we always supposed to start parking at Cup. I mean, he was kind of mad. I'm like dying laughing. I'm crying. And the look on his face was like, I can't believe you just said that.
Backfired on you.
That's how it is. Do you know a guy around here named Robbie Parker?
Know of him. I don't know him.
I don't know it too well. Don't get around it.
I can only control.
As I was telling Sammy Gator earlier today, that guy's a liar. So anyway,
no, I don't know him. I do know the name though. So.
Robbie went down around Southampton when they turned to the asphalt. He says he lapped Jack twice in one lap.
And Robbie Parker is a liar because he did not lap me twice.
Well, you're walking home, buddy.
You better leave when Rick does because you ain't got no damn ride home. But yeah, Robbie Parker doesn't tell the truth. But I will give him one credit. When the boys from Langley came to Southampton, we were all dirt drivers. And they turned it to asphalt, and they brought these asphalt cars to Southampton, and they dusted us.
I remember when they converted that.
They dusted us. I mean, no doubt. But he did not lap me twice in one lap, but they did dust us pretty good down. Oh Lord have mercy. There was something about you there on there.
This guy beginner 6. Oh.
These are beginner 6, not a pro 6.
Beginner 6.
All right, you want to give a shout out to any of your sponsors? Anything you got?
Yeah, Tommy Spencer. I just want to thank him. Just incredible at what he can do with a race car, any race car, pretty much. He very competent, great communicator, great to work with, and the man wants to win. He really wants to win. He likes winning. Hard-working man. I really appreciate him. Farmer Machine Company, Will Farmer at Farmer Machine Company. He's out more towards my way in the Ashland and the Hanover Airpark. Really good friend. He's an old racer too. He does drag racing now, but him and his son have done all types of racing over the years, and he's always been supporting me since I've kind of gotten back into it the last couple of years, and really appreciate him.
Well, and he said he's got some good equipment, so there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And he works hard on his equipment.
Yeah, very grateful for him.
All right, well, we appreciate you being with us, and
Thank you guys. Really appreciate the invite.
Thank you, and we'll get you back on here again soon.
Sure.
And
say the word, I'll be back. Thank you.
Grab the mic.
Yeah.
Nobody's walked out with it yet.
You still have 4 of them or 5 of them.
We're doing great.
all right, we're gonna let Joe come over here and sit down,
All right.
and then we're gonna talk to Kip. We're gonna talk to Kip, and we're gonna let you sit down. Yeah, we want them, but we want to talk to Kip first because I've been trying to get him on in a while.
He's a big deal.
Yeah, Kip's more important. You see what Scott said, right?
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Play one of our things here.
Hey, Jack, this is Robbie Parker, your favorite driver. And everybody out there, you're watching the Jack Dodson Show with the Scott Allen and Adam Wellbrock.
Hey, look, it's Robbie Parker. Where did he come from?
What's up, Kip? How you doing, man?
I am well. I hope you guys are.
I don't know if you want to join this show or not, to tell you the truth.
I've been watching and listening a little bit before I joined on here, and I'll take my chances at least for a little while. See how it goes.
As long as you don't screw up, we will definitely hold it against you.
Well, I know you will. I wouldn't expect it.
So how things going with you, Kip, and everything down your way?
Well, it's Wilkesboro week, so we've been incredibly busy trying to get ready for this week of racing. It's a little different than what we're normally accustomed to, just because of the stage that we're on, being that it is at North Wilkesboro. all the folks that'll be there, with it being All-Star Week for NASCAR. The Truck Series will be there as well. But we really we're looking forward to having two good shows, one on Thursday night and then one on Friday night, and just can't wait to get there.
I mean, it's got to be exciting for the Cars Tour to be involved in All-Star Weekend and everything there.
FS1 too.
Yeah, going to be on FS1 too. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's that is a big deal for us. And when Kevin and Dale came to us with the idea of back during the winter, and we didn't know if we could get all the boxes checked to get it pulled off, but we presented it to the racetrack. They were in favor of it because it gives them a chance to put our events closer to the actual weekend instead of being a midweek. So a lot of our teams are appreciative of that as well, because it's going to be less days off that they have to take from their jobs that they have too. So we're, I think it checks a whole lot of boxes. And then, the icing on the cake is the fact that it's, going to be live on FS1 after Cup qualifying. So there will already be a huge audience that have tuned in for qualifying, especially with as unique as qualifying is for the Cup cars there at North Wilkesboro. So we're looking forward to continuing on and having a great show on Friday night. But can't sell short what's going to happen on Thursday night as well. A good turnout of entries for the pro race that'll be happening on Thursday night. And one thing for them, it turns that into a one-day show. So it's a long day, but at the end of the night, they'll be able to get out in front of everybody and put on a great show. Both races, even though the late model stock race on Friday night is on FS1, Flow will still carry both of the events and then all of qualifying on Thursday as well.
Oh, that's pretty cool that they're going to have that big coverage there. When you look at where the Cars Tour is now, I mean, it is leaps and bounds one of the best racing series around for local late models and pro late models. I think it's really great. How much does Kevin and Dale Jr. and Jeff Burton, how much are they involved with what's going on?
Daily? I could show you some text chains between, our offices are actually in the Junior Motorsports building there in Mooresville. So, we have Dale that pops in and out every day, through the recording of his broadcast, through all the other activities that he has going on with the foundation. Of course, his involvement with the XFINITY series teams that he has, and everything that is going on in and around that building. It's amazing to see the flurry of activity and the fact that he's able to keep up with all this going on. He pops in today just to find out, to get the final count on what our entry list looks like, and he's super energetic this week because he and Kevin are going to be part of the broadcast team. Both on Thursday for the pro race on Flow, and then on Friday for the late model stock car race on FS1 and on Flow. So he's really looking forward to the weekend and being able to be up in the booth with Kevin, with Eric Brennan, and then the entire cast that puts on our shows for us. So Dale and Kevin are the most vocal. They're the most active when it comes to asking questions, to sharing ideas and things of that nature. But really, when we get to talking about rules and rule changes that we may have to consider, or maybe procedural changes we have to consider, that's where we will really pique Jeff's interest. And he's really concerned about the cost involved. Not that any of them aren't, but Jeff really more so than the others. And then whenever we do have a wild and crazy idea, that's when we lean on Justin and his marketing background to really help get it out to the public.
Now, last week you and I were talking, and you said you had a meeting going on trying to get some things ironed out. How did all that go with you last week?
So we have a monthly meeting with our teams. We started that this year. We had been trying to get that going last year and just couldn't get the schedules to mesh. So what we did is we pick a Wednesday once a month, and we get all of the. It's not the entire mailing list. When I send out an email, when we sent out a few today, it goes out to somewhere between 550 and 600 folks, just to make sure that we cover everybody that may be a part of an event. But we don't invite all of those to a meeting just because number one, and you know this by having the show that you do, if you have a whole lot of things coming into it, the bandwidth really suffers. So we invite teams that are, participating on a weekly basis with us, and invite, whether it's the crew chief or the car owner or even the driver, to be a part of those meetings. And it's an open forum. We've got an agenda that we cover where we talk about upcoming events and the possible changes that we've got on the horizon. But, we really want it to be an open dialogue, an open forum. That way, if they have any questions, any concerns that maybe, they've not brought to our attention at the track or whatever the case may be, it gives them an opportunity. It gives them a voice to be able to do so. Now, I will say this: you get about 100 of them on a call. Nobody wants to speak up first, so you really have to poke and prod, and then you have to threaten to, okay, we're going to end the call, and that's generally when the questions start happening.
Yeah. Everybody wants to get involved in,
and that's okay. Hey, if that's what it takes to get it going, then that's fine. There have been some great ideas that have come from our competitors. We want them to realize that the door is open, that we are listening. There are a lot of times that we're not able to take their recommendations and put them into play right away, because so many ideas that do come from the competition side into the officiating side. There are a lot of other boxes that have to be checked, a lot of other stakeholders that we have to answer to, and sometimes a great idea may take a little bit of time to be implemented.
When you look at the Cars Tour, did you ever expect it to get as big as it has, as it is right now?
So when I was asked to come on board, and now in my second full season, so I'm almost coming up on that first half a year in 23, all of last year. So I'm almost at the 2-year mark, right? So I think that we have grown, but in different ways than the way it was when Jack had it. I mean, Jack did a phenomenal job of taking the series and not only, keeping it going in a time, especially through the COVID times when everybody had a chance of maybe having troubles to even keep going, but he made it thrive too. So what we wanted to make sure that we do is we continue that progress. And I think that, by having the race on FS1 this weekend at North Wilkesboro, that's one example of things that we're trying to do to put a bigger spotlight on this series. And I think that still the sky's the limit for what's out there, the unknown of what we can do to make sure that we're getting all the eyes we can on our drivers, on our teams. There's a lot of bright crew chiefs in our garage area, and our partners as well. When ZMAX and Sound Gear and a multitude of other partners that joined up with us, when I came on board, this year, Carson Elledge has been working super, super hard to go out and find even new partners to be a part of what we're doing. The biggest thing that we can do is make sure that we are putting it in front of as many eyeballs as we can, whether it's at the track or through a broadcast.
Now, I guess you would have to say that this weekend at Wilkesboro is probably one of the biggest races that you guys will have this year, as far as attention and everything you're going to have on it. So what are the races down the road that, you're looking forward to make maybe a bigger, get a bigger turnout?
Yeah. So we always enjoy, coming to Hampton, to Langley Speedway. We've been working with Chuck Hall and Bill Mullis to, for plans of preparations for that event. That's just coming up 2 weeks after we race at North Wilkesboro. So looking forward to get back up there to Virginia. The Dominion event is going to be a big one as well, simply because of, it's a great facility. But when you factor in the Minis mission, the calls there that Minnie Tyrell has put together to really put a spotlight on the kids at Walter Reed. It's a great event to be a part of. The racing is, again, icing on the cake. But when you see those kids that are at the racetrack that otherwise, would probably be in a hospital somewhere or be somewhere where they can't get out. And when we're able to go and have a great dinner with them and then bring them down to the pits before we open officially, and let them, touch the cars, let them talk to the crew members, to the drivers, put some of these kids in the cars when you see them light up, that's worth the price of admission right there. I'd be, remiss if I didn't talk about, our big race coming up at Hickory. Where we'll pay $50,000 to win for the late model stock car race and $30,000 to win the pro race. We're anticipating a huge turnout for that. And what better place to have it than, the history that's involved in Hickory Motor Speedway. They're excited about it. And we can't wait to get there. Flo, jumping on board with both feet to really help us, have those, I guess, record-breaking purses when you look at it across the board. We're going to pay a couple of winners a total of $80,000. That's a big deal. And so we can't wait to get there. Anderson's back on the schedule for the first time in a number of years. And then, we hit that stretch there towards the end of the season with Florence, South Boston, Tri-County, and then crowning the champs back again at North Wilkesboro.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. I'm going to try to get there to some of those. So that's really big. That's really big for the circuit and everything for you guys.
Yeah, it really is.
One more thing before we let you go. What was, when you took this job, what was one of the biggest surprises that you got hit with when you took over about how this organization ran?
I don't, that's tough. I don't know. I tried to keep an open mind, coming into the program. I've been very fortunate in the fact that I've been a part of, the racing community at a lot of different levels, through, 30, 40 years of being at a racetrack as an employee, right? Whether it's a track announcer at a short track or, driving a pace car at a short track, jumping into the what is now the ARCA East and ARCA West, and then being very, very fortunate to work my way on up to working in the Cup Series. So, to do all of the things that I've been able to do and then go back and be a part of grassroots racing, it really took me back from a standpoint. And now I get to go back and see, just like when I was, then the K&N series, see some of these kids as they're getting their start, and be able to now watch them, climb the ladder. We've been able to see our most recent champions and Brendan Queen and Caden Honeycutt, now find success. And Brendan's really, I don't know that he's surprised any of us, but I'll bet some of the rest of the ARCA world is pretty surprised at how successful he's been this season.
Right.
And so, between that and watching Caden's had some bad luck in the truck series, but he'll get that turned around. And he's got speed. They've got a great team. And so it would not surprise me to see, him in victory lane. So now it's a product of, trying to identify who that next star is going to be that goes from our series and, up into, the national ranks of the NASCAR world. So I don't know that it's so much of a surprise, but just maybe a welcome, kind of a refresh to my career in the sport.
Well, I'll tell you what, you got a 14-year-old running in the late model stocks and the pros. I think you run some of pros too. That Tristan McKee is probably going to be coming along and be one of those big names pretty soon.
Yeah, I think so. And, Tristan has really, he's broadened his, dynamic in the racing world too, getting some sports car experience. He had to miss a couple of Cars Tour events to go and race in the Trans Am series. So, he's another one that is going to be super, super good just because of all of the things that he can drive, and that'll benefit him in whatever the next vehicle he gets into. He was really, really strong last year at North Wilkesboro. So it wouldn't surprise me to see him in victory lane, if not once, maybe even twice this week.
Kip, we appreciate you spending some time with us tonight. I know you got a lot of stuff going on getting prepared for Wilkesboro. And we can't wait to see you up here at Langley in a couple weeks.
We can't wait to get up there. I know that, like I said, Chuck's got a great big itinerary plan for us. We can't wait to see what's in store for our guys, for us, and for all the fans there. And, at Langley, they are some of the best fans that we see anywhere we go. Week in and week out, when we tune in on Flow, we see the stands that are just packed. And so can't wait to get up there and see all of you guys again.
We can't wait to see you, and good luck to you, and have a good Wilkesboro weekend this weekend.
Thank you so much. Everyone tune in.
All right. We'll talk to you later. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, put it so we can get Joe on here.
You gotta get the screen big. Is that what you're trying to say, Dad? Oh, man. Supposed to be nice to the guests.
Yeah.
Well, look, I know you didn't get a lot of love over the Warren house. So, I mean,
That's right.
so, now, let's start. How did you get exposed to racing? I mean, me and Jack know. We all had a conversation a couple of weeks ago or so.
I got exposed. My dad kind of raced over here in the late '90s, and he went to school with Phil and grew up with Phil. And you know, I always wanted to be involved, and I was never old enough. And then, you know, Doug was racing mini trucks, and I moved up to Grand Stocks, I guess, at the time. And I really just wanted to work on race cars. And Doug took me to the racetrack. The first time I ever got to go was Florence. And we went down there, and
That's a rough place there. Well,
yeah,
rougher back then.
we went down there, and Doug was pretty good. You know, qualified. I think he qualified second that week, and then it rained. It was like the end of the year show in November. It rained on a Sunday. They canceled it, and we went home. And I was like, man, I want to do this. And I kind of just became friends with Doug when I was like 13 or 14, and started coming over here with him.
Now, see, everybody knows Doug as Uncle Doug. We call him Uncle Doug.
Yeah, yeah. Now, everybody knows him as Phil Warren's brother. Right.
Well, I mean,
We went to Manassas one time with the late model stock, probably 07, 08, and they literally introduced him as Phil Warren's brother. Didn't even say his name.
is that right?
Yeah, Phil Warren's brother starting team. So I was
That's
like,
pretty funny.
yeah,
I
was
don't think
fun.
I've heard that one.
It's Phil's brother.
So, and then you lived with Phil and them for a while.
I lived with Phil and Barbara for 6 years. Yeah, not in their attic. They had a nice house with a nice upstairs. And Riley likes to tell everybody I lived in his grandma's attic, but
Well, I mean, that's what we're gonna tell everybody.
yeah, I lived there. I lived there for like 6 years.
Now, everybody at Langley, well, all the older people at Langley knows Barbara, right?
Yeah,
And how nice she is.
yeah, yeah.
Now,
Barbara is nice
she is.
if you stay on the right side. You know?
Now, is Amy much different?
No, she'll be just like her mom. She
Some
is.
people say she's worse. I'm like, I don't know about that one.
I don't know about worse. Like Barbara hit people in the head with a radio, you know, and start fights if she had to. I've never seen Amy in a fist fight.
Yeah, right.
Not yet, but like,
Oh yeah, give her time.
there's time, yeah.
Yeah.
Now somebody rubs up that 47, you never know. Talking about it.
But now you told me a story about you thought you weren't gonna go to school, right?
Yeah, so I moved in with Phil and Barbara, and I was 17 or 18 at the time, and it was the first night I'd spent the night there, and I'm like, you know, I'm paying them rent, and I'm not going to school today. And about 7:30, Barbara yelled up them stairs, and I went to school. I definitely went to school that day.
I just always thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah,
I keep forgetting to ask Barbara. I see Barbara this weekend. Talk to her much. But
yeah, that's a good time living there, though. I liked it.
so, did you learn all your spotting skills from Anthony?
I don't know. I never thought spotting. I was like, you know, just something to do, and like, I'm like, who can't do this? You know, anybody can spot. I don't. But yeah,
That's obvious. We let Scott.
yeah. Anthony was spotting, and then I actually filled in for him at a practice in Richmond. I wasn't a spotter. Like, that's not what I was doing. And I filled in for him at Richmond in the practice for they did the Denny Hamlin race there with the late model stocks, and the K&N cars were there. And he was spotting for Godovic, and he had to work on the car during practice. So they sent me over there to spot for Doug Gotze because Phil was crew chief in that.
Oh Lord!
So I spotted for him in practice.
Oh, they threw you right to the wolves.
Yeah, and then I spotted for Godovic in practice, and then the next week they came here to race late models. Godovic did, and Anthony was spotting for Wes Falk, and they needed a spotter for Brandon, and I was here, so I was like, I'll spot the race. You know, I think I could probably do that, and I spotted for him, and he ran pretty good, and then I spotted for him a little more, and just kind of was like, hey, this is what I want to do.
Yeah. Well, for the people that don't know who Joe White is, Joe, you're a full-time spotter.
I am. I spotted for Ty Dillon in the Cup Series, and Nathan Bird in the Truck Series, and Xfinity. We're still working on that a little bit. I started the year with Daniel Dye. Colleagues making some changes, so I didn't spot for him the last race, and filled in and spotted for another car.
Mm-hmm. So, does it surprise you how many people that you see in the NASCAR, up in the top 3 ranks of NASCAR that come from Langley Speedway?
Nah, there's a lot of people that are from Langley. I mean, every team, everywhere you look, there's somebody from Langley. I mean, I work with Eddie Pardue as a crew chief on the 11 car in Xfinity. He's obviously from up here.
Yeah.
There's 3 or 4 guys that came from Greg's team that work for the 47 car.
Oh yeah. So half that team come from
From Edwards Motorsports.
Yeah. So I'm like, if you want to get in the cup race, and just start with those guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot from up here.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many that we run into or know, and it's kind of crazy how small of a world it is.
Hudson. I see Hudson every week. He's from up here. He's right next door to us at College. He's at RCR.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot of people.
So how much interaction is there between RCR and colleagues on a regular basis?
A lot. I think they do all their cup debriefs every Monday for the 3, the 8, the 10, and the 16, all at RCR. Our crew chief Andrew Dickinson, the RCR guy, he came over, super smart guy. I think it's definitely helped the college program this year. I think they've definitely gotten closer to what they're doing. So.
Can you give them some setup sheets? Because it seems like y'all setup sheets.
I don't think they need setup sheets. I just think they need some luck. Kyle's been. I mean, Texas Kyle probably had a race winning car and spun out. So they just need some luck.
Now, what information? All right, so you work with a bunch of different drivers. Do you sit down with each driver and figure out like how much information they want or don't work?
Yeah, so like this year at the beginning of the year before we went to Daytona, Ty and I sat down and just watched film from watched onboards from cup races, like super speedway stuff is the most important, and listen to different spotters. We listened to Derek Nealon's a really good super speedway spotter. We listened to a bunch of his stuff and what he liked about that and what he liked about some stuff from me that we did the previous year with Shane and AJ, and you do a lot of that prep work every week. So,
so then when you're on the spotter stand, how many different people do you have in your ear?
So you have obviously channel 1. You talk to the driver. A lot of times you listen to yourself. That way you know everything's working. So when you key up and talk, it's playing in your
Oh, really?
in your ear. Yeah. And
Yeah.
Pretty much everybody does that. That's spotting. Just it's a like.
So is it another radio?
It's a whole nother radio. Yeah, that you listen.
So
to
know your stuff is.
You listen to NASCAR, and then you have another channel to talk to the crew chief and the engineers.
So how many actual radios do you have up there?
In your bag, you probably have. I have like 7. But like you got a guy like Eddie DeHunt, he listens to all of that. Plus, he'll listen to the MRN broadcast. So he listens to the MRN broadcast the whole time, and that way he can, if something happens over there and he's watching his car over here, he knows something's happening.
I'm too ADD for that.
Yeah, I'm not. My brain doesn't work fast enough to listen to all that.
No, I don't even know how you. Now, your crew chief and engineer stuff, that's a digital channel that not everybody can listen to.
No, you're not allowed to have digital radios on the spotter stand.
Oh, you're not?
Yeah, so that's a no-no because they want to be able to hear everything. So,
does most of the crew chief information go straight to the driver, or does it come through you? I know some people do that.
Most of it, like with our team, everything comes through the spotter.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the engineers and the crew chiefs on the box, they can all talk to each other through like the intercom system where nobody else hears. It's just them.
Yeah, I know Hendrick did, or they had a radio. I know like practice they would come in and they would switch over to digital.
So they do that. Like during practice, like when you get a longer practice, especially when you go to these races, Phoenix where you get 50 minutes and stuff, they'll come off the racetrack and put a digital in the car. That way that stuff's all, internal and nobody else can hear.
So then,
but then we're just up there like waiting.
So you can't even listen to it. You don't even.
No, we don't. We don't listen to it. Yeah. So when they're in the garage working on it or doing adjustments, we don't hear it.
Now, I can't imagine spotting for Daytona Talladega because you're practically driving the car, right? I mean, there ain't.
Yeah. I mean,
that's got to be so nervous.
There's times where it is, and then there's times where it isn't. Like last year, the 2024 Daytona 500. I spotted for AJ Allmendinger, and like you're like, man, this guy's been racing since I was a kid, and I met him like Wednesday. We went down Wednesday. I met him. We do the duel on Thursday, And then I'm like, Friday morning, I'm like, does somebody have his phone number so I can talk to him? And he calls. He's like, oh, man, yeah, just do that. We'll be fine on Sunday. So we raced on Monday. We finished 6th, so it wasn't a bad, But, yeah, that's nerve-wracking. The first Daytona 500 I did was with Chase Briscoe. That was super nerve-wracking because, I go from spotting, I spotted for Chase for a while, but you go to Stuart Haas and you go to a team where they're expected to run good and run up front, and everything is way different than anything I've ever, any team I've ever worked with. And, you're at the Daytona 500 and like this kid's making his debut and all that. So you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to mess up. And the first thing we did in the duel was try to get to the bottom lane to pit under green and spun out. So it wasn't my fault, but we did do that.
So what was the phone call like when Chase asked you to come and do that full time? That had to have been a
it actually wasn't a phone call. So I had met Chase in 2014 or 15 before he started racing ARCA. And he got to run a couple races in 15 for Cunningham Motorsports. And I was already at Cunningham spotting some ARCA stuff. And then the next year he got the opportunity to race full time. And he just said, hey, man, you're going to be my spotter. And I was like, cool. So, and I wasn't really doing it full time back then. I still had a job. And so I spotted for him that year and we won 6 races in the championship. So it was, it was great. And then he moved on he went to BKR, and I didn't do anything for him there. I didn't spot for him again until 2018, and we went to Eldora with the truck with ThorSport, and I spotted for him. We won that race. So that was like, hey, that was good. And then we won an Xfinity race at Iowa, and at that point, I was spotting full-time for Joe Graff in 2019 or 2020 at Bobby Dodder's, the Xfinity car.
Mm-hmm.
And those guys
flew. Scuba diving kid, wasn't it?
No, that was the other guy. Joe Graff is a kid from New York, the Eat, Sleep, Race kid. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I spotted for him in that year, and they were flying on the Stuart Haas plane every week. That's the plane they chartered and flew on. And we were going to Vegas, and Chase came back and sat with me, and he was like, I'm going to the 14 car next year, and I think they want you to spot. I think they're gonna let you spot. And I was like, nah, they're not gonna do that. I'm like, that'll never happen. They're not gonna. I don't have much cup experience at all. I had done a year, 3/4 of a year with what was the name of the team? Starcom. I spotted for Derek Cope. Kyle Weatherman drove it. Mm-hmm. I spotted for Landon a couple times. So I'm like, I don't have enough experience for that. And TJ Majors kept texting me, like busting my balls, like, oh, you can spot that 14 car next year. And Greg Zipadelli called me, and I got the job. And I was like, oh, that was when it was like, that call was like real. Yeah, I'm sitting in Doug's body shop, working, and he calls me. I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, we'll send you over a contract. You can take a look at it. It was more money than I'd ever made in my life. And I was like, yeah, let's do it, So, but yeah.
I can imagine you see him sitting over here shouting like, who just called you? Greg Zipadelli.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right. I knew it was maybe a possibility. Mm-hmm. And then it kept getting where it was like, oh, maybe I am going to get that job. And then I got it. And I was like, wow, But it was fun. Didn't last, but that first season. And
it just kind of sucks.
Yeah, it kind of sucked. I was kind of over it. And, it was one of the deals where Chase and I were friends. And he was a new guy. I was a new guy. And the crew chief had been there since Stuart Haas's inception. He'd been there forever. And it was just one of them deals where it was like not everybody got along. And the spotter's always the first guy to go.
Well, when you talk about not getting along, have you had drivers that you just, when you try to spot for them, they just, you can't please them, and they give you a lot of grief?
I haven't had any of those drivers, but I believe there are some out there. I've had some crew chiefs that are just like, I don't like the way you do it, or you'll get a crew chief that says, I don't like the way this guy does it, and you're like, that guy's won a million races and done a great, how can you not like what he does? And it's just one of those deals where everyone's got to get along or it doesn't work. I think this year, we're in a situation where it's going pretty well. Everybody works well together.
Well, Ty seems to be a fairly easygoing, a positive.
He's the most easygoing person I've ever spotted for. If you do something wrong, he just says, "Hey, Joe, let's try this." And he never. Yeah, he never.
So what did you screw up on?
I don't know. I'm not gonna say I've gotten us right. Yeah, we've only had one DNF, which was this past weekend, and that. That wasn't my fault, but yeah, but it's going pretty good this year so far.
Well, Yeah, I mean, over there at college, I mean, of course, you got Chris, right? And Chris is entertaining himself,
Yeah,
right? He could be a comedian. But it seems that they attract good people. I think, a combination between Matt, Matt bringing a lot of resources, and then Chris, it just seems like it, I don't know, it just seems like a fun place to work.
And they got some of the best crew chiefs over there as far as Trent.
Yeah, Trent Owens.
Trent Owens and Andrew in the Cup Series. Those guys are, I mean,
there's a lot of experience, plus there's a lot of sort of new people and new ideas and different things.
Ty Norris also came over at the end of last year, and I think that's
did he?
Yeah, so he's
that's right. I
he's
forgot.
with us now, and I think that's everything at college racing has stepped up for 2025, except for the Xfinity program. They're struggling a bit, but they're working on getting that better because those guys are expected to win races.
I mean, well, the last couple of years they've ran really well.
Yeah,
the Xfinity stuff, but the Cup stuff has been elevated in my view. I mean,
this
AJ,
year,
I think coming over the last couple of years, kind of helping with some experience, right?
Absolutely.
Which another character, right? I mean,
yeah, he is a character. I spotted for him last year. He's fun to. He gets the cussing, and I ask the crew chief, is he yelling at me? No, he's just yelling at himself. I'm like, all right, with so many F words, I couldn't tell if it was sad or not.
Like the engine.
now when you're up there in that great big box in the sky, looking down on the racetrack and everything, like in practice, and your car's not out there. What do you guys do sitting up there? Y'all just aggravate each other?
No, so I mean, really, you're paying attention to everybody else. Like, there's so many tools to use now. Like, you have SMT and all the timing and scoring. So you're watching other cars and trying to see their tendencies and what they're doing. And a lot of, for regular practice, it's only 25 minutes, and a lot of times you go right out on the racetrack and you try to get a depending on where you're at, 10, 15, 20 lap run, and you come in and might make an adjustment. So like, really in practice, when you're out there for you got your 25 minutes, you use as much of it as you can.
The reason why,
so you look at the SMT, you have access to it?
We have access to the SMT on the roof. Yeah, everybody does. Well, not all the spotters do. Yeah.
And it's so crazy compared to years ago, right? You wouldn't know what the line is or how somebody that did well back their corner way up. But
can you imagine? And I know you know who I'm getting ready to speak about, but can you imagine somebody like Barkdahl and somebody like Fat Boy?
Yeah. Barkdahl's still at the racetrack too. He's driving.
I know. But if somebody like Barkdahl and Fat Boy, what they gonna look at the S&T stuff for? I mean,
and those guys, the older guys, they kind of the spotter position has really changed over the last 5 years as far as like the analytic stuff and the stuff that they're doing. There's guys like Tyler Green and Coleman Presley, like those guys do a ton of that work and a ton of prep work with their drivers and are super smart. Like they're really good at it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it shows with Presley, right? I mean,
yeah. It's one.
So do you relay that information back that you see something on the SMT to
the
driver?
Most of the time during practice, the engineers are watching the SMT and they'll relay the information to me because it's hard to watch live, like the live SMT stuff while you're out there. So like they'll relay it to you, and like this weekend at Kansas in practice we did it, and I was like, I'm thinking the engineer's telling me stuff, and I'm like, I don't want to hear this every lap. And he finally said, I don't want you talking every lap, Joe. I'm like, yeah, I know. I know that. And then the engineer's still telling me, I'm like, hey, we'll wait till after the run, Oh, okay, yeah.
So when you're up there, like some of these races are pretty long. Do you have a time of how much you're going to drink? Because what do you do when you got to go to the bathroom?
You wait till a caution and run.
Does everybody run? Do you have multiple bathrooms?
Man, it depends on where you're at. Sometimes you got to go down a level and use a bathroom, but there's some guys, like a lot of times if you can make it the whole race, but there's some guys that don't. Kevin Hamlin, every caution, it seems like he's running to the bathroom.
He's getting a little
old. Yeah. But yeah,
I was always wondering about what who was it that was in the damn trash can a couple of years ago? It was like Wendy. Was it Kansas? I think.
Well, I remember that somebody did get.
Somebody took a picture. I forget who it was sitting in a trash can trying to spot it because it was so cold.
I'm not sure, but there's some times where it gets cold and hot.
How much stuff do you take up there? What's the norm that you carry into the spotter stand?
I mean, you carry a lot, really. So you carry, like in my bag, I've got 2 headsets, 7 or 8 radios, a ton of extra batteries. You carry an iPad. I carry a tablet as well. You carry.
Right. What's the
So the big issue we're having right now is like the Wi-Fi. So NASCAR provides a spotter Wi-Fi, and we have nice tablets that run off Wi-Fi. But if the Wi-Fi doesn't work, then you don't have your timing and scoring. So your iPad's got service. So
now sometimes the internet is terrible.
Yeah.
Especially on Sunday.
Yeah. So a lot of teams have like Penske, Inspire, all those teams have, and College has them too. We just haven't taken them. With this is the Starlink, so they have their own internet.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have issues with it, but
dang,
we're not. Frank and I are still working on that.
Well, Joe, we appreciate you coming all the way down here and being here.
Yeah.
Well, you're from Windsor, so.
Yeah, not too far away.
Okay, well, I'm from Cortland, so
Yeah.
we
so you can get a rest. So
oh yeah, there's your there you So anyway, yeah, that's we appreciate you doing this. And,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I think it's neat for different people to understand different aspects of the racing world. Some people don't realize how much. I mean, us racers do, right? We understand how much is in the back side of racing. Some people don't realize how much there is into it.
Yeah, it's a lot. A lot of people think we just watch cars and talk, which we do for the most part. But
Well, I mean, that is your job.
yeah.
But there's a lot of concentration involved.
Yeah.
In that.
Like in a couple of weeks at Charlotte, that feels like you're up there for 3 days for the 600.
So before we go, what's the toughest racetrack, and then what's the easiest one?
The toughest racetrack to spot is probably Phoenix, just because of the location of the spotter stand. You're in the middle of 3 and 4. So when they come off 2,
You're on the back strip.
you're in the middle of 3 and 4.
1 and 2. You mean that above the grandstands?
You're above the grandstands, but so like when they come off a 2 and they're coming down the back stretch,
Straight at you.
they're straight at you. And then when they're going through the dog leg and they're 5 wide, they're driving away from you. And then when they're going through 1 and 2, they're a mile away. So that's a tough place to spot.
And then what's the easiest?
Any of the short tracks, Martinsville, places where you're not looking through binoculars. That stuff. Whether or not
Charlotte, you're looking through binoculars?
Charlotte, yeah.
It seemed like that would be hard, but I guess y'all have a particular type of goggles that are kind of have
wide angle. Yeah. Restarts definitely a mile and a half. When they get into 1 and they're away from you, you're looking through binoculars a lot.
Yeah, Phoenix is definitely different. Like, I mean, you think you know the racetrack, and I went last year to the end of the year.
Yes.
And walking around the racetrack, it was just completely different than, I don't know, than what you pictured in your mind.
Even watching on TV and then you get there, it's a lot.
Well, that's what I mean. It was like, oh wow,
didn't expect that.
No, and I didn't really realize that the start finish line is kind of like in the middle of the corner, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just different, which is good. I mean, I like something that's different. Do you have a favorite moment?
Probably in 2020, I got to I was spotting for Chase on like the standalone Xfinity stuff, and second spotting with him. So that led into second spotting with Timmy on Harvick's car, and we won that weekend in Indy. We won the first road course race that they did for the Xfinity cars on the road course with Chase, and then the next day we won the Brickyard with Kevin. So that was kind of cool.
With nobody there.
With nobody there, yeah. We didn't get to go to victory lane. We didn't do anything. Wow. We won. We went and got on the airplane and went home. But I got rings from it, so that's
You got a brick?
No brick.
Didn't they? I thought you could buy a brick.
You can get one, but yeah.
Well,
I take the free stuff. They gave the rings for free.
The team gets that, right?
But when Lee and them,
I thought he got a.
Yeah, when Lee and them won the Brickyard, they got them in a truck and took them out there into a back field.
Yeah. There's those guys like Anthony and them. They all have bricks from there because they go out there and buy them.
Yeah, that's what they do.
They're there now. I'm sure they're goofing off and stealing bricks now.
But now, you ever thought about doing the 500 stuff?
In 2020 was the last opportunity I had because I wasn't cup spotting full time, so I was available. And I was gonna go, and then I was like, I don't want to go. I don't want to, be gone for a week. And so
now it's like, I think Anthony says we go.
It's like 2 weeks, yeah. You go to a test day in April, and then they're there. They're there today until Friday or Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Then they come home, and then they go back on Monday or something like that, or Tuesday or something. And I'm like, I don't want to do that in 2020. And I was supposed to spot for Takuma Sato, and he won the race. No, and I was like, oh well, you know, that was my one shot. I'm not doing it. So,
All right, well, that's our show for tonight. I want to thank Joe White, Rick Poust, Andrew Wroten, Kip Childress. Man, it was a great show tonight to have all those people here. We appreciate your time and effort for being here. And please like and share our show. Next week, I have one guest that I know is coming. Well, knows going to be on the show. Chase Robertson from Bowman Gray is going to be on here next week. So, got some other ones lined up, but we'll have to see what happens if they will or not. But anyway, all right, that's our show for tonight.
all right.